Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, we're going to take a look at two stocks that had the highest Sizzle index an hour after the markets were open. I was trying to find which stocks are leading this market right now. We had bullish strength. I wanted to know which were the stocks that were driving this activity, and AMD and Intel were the two stocks as of 7:30 a.m. Pacific, so exactly 1 hour after the markets were open, that had the highest Sizzle scores this morning. Let me show you what that looks like. I took a screenshot of this. So on the left hand side here, you can see a watch list with, I have most of the largest names in there, about 116 names. And it's sorted by the Sizzle score, the Sizzle index score. And this is our custom hourly Sizzle index. For all Volatility Box members, you can download this for free. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below and at the end of this presentation as well. It's included with your membership, and it helps you find which stocks are on the move every single hour. Now, if we take a look at the screenshot here, this is as of right around 7:30, before 7:35 hit, we had AMD and Intel, both of which were leading the Sizzle scores here. Sorted by least to greatest, AMD and Intel are at the furthest most end of this watch list. AMD is at 3.13 and Intel is at 3.01. If we take a look at the charts here, AMD is breaching our aggressive volatility box as well. So that's another interesting setup here. Not only is it a stock on the move, but it's also breaching our hourly volatility models, which means we have a framework to try and take advantage of this move. Now in this case, if we take a look at this trend here, I have Heiken Ashi trend candles loaded on here for a change to try and make it easier to see this trend. Very clearly bullish, headed into our aggressive volatility box zones. That starts with the cyan line right here, going all the way to the outer edge of the clouds. This is the aggressive model, and the second set of cyan lines in the clouds that you see right here, that's the conservative model. So as of this screenshot, we have price breaching our aggressive volatility box models. This is the cyan line. And that's part one of our setup. Now part two of our fade setup is we need to now see our oversold confirmation. That's the edge signal confirmation. It's a red arrow pointed down, and it tells us that, hey, this move is officially now in oversold territory. We have hit the upper edge of the aggressive volatility box. We have even these extended Keltner channel wedges plotting, and now we have an oversold signal. We surely think that AMD is likely to pull back, at least for a little bit here, and this bullish trend to pause. That's the overall idea. So one more time to summarize the key takeaways from this slide right here. AMD on the extreme most positive end of our Sizzle index score, letting you know that it's a stock on the move. And second most is Intel. So you know it's really the two chip makers that are leading this market as of right now, at least as of the screenshot. Second most, we're now inside of AMD, hitting the upper edge of our volatility box, the aggressive models. And we now have a question: what's going to happen from this point? Do we see sellers are able to take control here and drive price action down lower, respecting our models? Or do we have buyers here taking full control, driving price action up higher, and maybe even hitting the conservative models? Those are really the two different questions that I'm asking myself at this juncture. Now the answer to that, at least to me, is the edge signal. Once we see that red arrow, that will give you the answer of what is more likely to happen. So if we move forward here and see what actually ends up happening, after we had the breach, we had a nice little pullback before then getting a retest of the cyan entry lines. The second retest, you have 1 and 2 edge signal arrows. These are the red oversold confirmations telling you we're now officially in oversold territory. And for those of you that have seen the V-shaped reversal course, this looks very similar to that V-shaped pattern that we're familiar to seeing, right? A lot of extended Keltner wedges, they finally stop printing. We have our oversold arrows now starting to print, and price action then starts to sell off here. So this is the overall idea of the setup, the fade setup. We want to see a move away from the volatility box zones, and this was the breakdown inside of AMD, starting with that Sizzle index all the way up to the trend. What actually ended up happening, breaching the upper edge of the volatility box models, and then seeing the actual fade reaction. Now there's one more chart here that I think makes this even cleaner, taking this even beyond the edge signal confirmation, even beyond just this breach. And that's if you switch this over to a 3-minute time frame chart. I think that makes that as clear as it can be to see this trend and how it reverses. The Heiken Ashi trend candles here are green all the way up as price action breaches the cyan entry line and the upper end of our aggressive volatility box models. We then have our first red candle, an indecision candle, and that trend then changes into a bearish trend with some fairly strong bearish candles here before again pulling back to the market pulse, and then that bullish trend resumes one more time. So this fade move right here is what we were looking to take advantage of with the aggressive volatility box models, knowing where we think the trend is likely to stop, exhaust, and pull back, which we can take advantage of. So one more time, this is the Heiken Ashi trend reversal candles to try and make it a little cleaner and easier to see just how easy it is to spot this trend and how the models can then help you find where these trends are likely to exhaust and pull back, even if it is for just a little bit of a breather. For all Volatility Box members, you can download the Sizzle Index from our website for free. That's tosindicators.com/dashboards/sizzle-index. Again, it's useful for finding stocks that are making greater than usual moves every single hour, stocks that are quote-unquote on the move, where trends either might be forming, old trends might be exhausting, or current markets that are in play using the hourly volatility models. Now, one other note before I close out here, if I come inside of our charts, this is AMD, but in that same hour, if I load in the S&P 500 futures on the scalper volatility box models, and I come back to that 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific hour, what you can see is the volatility inside of the S&P is much less compared to AMD. So AMD was one of the few places where you could actually take advantage of that same trend. Inside of the S&P here, we fell short of the upper edge of that sign entry line that we're looking for. That came only in that subsequent hour, the 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific hour, where we see similar bullish strength here. So in that first hour, AMD and Intel, while we have setups there, in the S&P, no setup. Inside of the Dow, which was on the aggressive volatility box models, no setup. And inside of the NASDAQ, where we were on the scalper volatility box models, no setup there either. However, inside of AMD, we had a nice breach, and if we switch over to Intel, and we take a look in that same 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific hour, even in Intel, no breach of that sort. So hopefully that helps drive home the idea of why I thought AMD was so unique, why I thought it was worth spending some time there, because it stood out today truly in the mornings as one of the markets on the Sizzle Index breaching the upper edge of our volatility box models, when a lot of other major markets that you think might be breaching at the same time were not. Alright, I hope you found this information useful for all Volatility Box members. Again, be sure to check out the new Sizzle Index. You can find the download link in the description box as well. Take care everyone, good luck trading, and we'll see you in the next update.